To say something about the good Jamaican ganja. It's I Man Marky G who piloted and developed the legislation passed by the PNP in 2015 to decriminalize personal use of ganja. Before then you couldn't go on the road with no spliff in your hand or in your jaw corner. Because you'd get draped up and arrested by the police and end up with a criminal record. We were the ones who got rid of that. So you can't be arrested for a spliff. You can't be arrested for a chalice. You can't be arrested for a jar of weed. And if you have a criminal record from the past for any of those things for personal use, we have automatic expungement of your criminal record. Once you apply for your criminal record certificate, it's treated as an application for expungement and that is removed from your record. Is I Man do that?
I want to also big up our DGS comrade Wentworth Skeffrey, the man who is putting me in check, who checks on me.
And when the head of the stream, is rotten and toxic, everything that flows downstream will be also dirty. We need to clean up Jamaica. And comrades, we need a government that will deal with the real issues confronting our society. One of which is the low rate of economic growth that Jamaica has suffered from for so long. We have gone through tremendous sacrifices to fix the public finances of the country. It started under Sister P and Dr. Peter Phillips as finance minister. And he as a legislator, thank you, Skeff, pushing through the laws to achieve the structural benchmarks that would change that situation and put it on the right trajectory. So that now our debt is no longer the massive problem that it once was. But the economy hasn't grown. The economy is barely moving forward. The country is stagnant. We need to deal with the issues that will address that. We need to support farmers. We need to support farmers so that they can produce. They can produce for the domestic market. They can produce for other countries that need what we can grow. We need an entity which we are calling the Agricultural Development Fund, funded by a portion of the taxes that we impose currently on imported food. And there's so much imported food in the country, 1.4 billion US dollars worth of food imports now, coming from 700,000 or 800,000 when we left office. Permits being given to bring in food, which is undermining our farmers and they can't get sale for their crops. And we need to establish this entity that can support the farmers. Support them with fertilizer. Man, some of us charged for corruption. And we want to know how this thing with the drill really go. This drill with the government purchased from a company for $31.5 million. And we hear say the drill never cost the company anything near that. And the majority shareholder in that company will sell the drill to the government for that big price. The man who has 80% of the shares in his name is a member of parliament for the Jamaica Labour Party. And is a man who very mixed up in the various companies that the Prime Minister is involved in, and which have been the subject of the Integrity Commission report, which has led to the situation of which I spoke earlier. Something is rotten in the state of Jamaica, comrades. We cannot go forward like this. We need an era where ethics, values and attitudes are at the center of governance. An era where the country is run by a government that they can have trust and confidence in, because we're not going to deal with any hanky-panky business. And if anybody miss and slip, then slide and they will be held accountable. We need a new era where we usher in a more loving Jamaica, a more caring Jamaica, When we see what is happening out there, 9-year-old sweet little girl raped and murdered, a nurse traveling on a public road, abused in the most heinous way, man are stepping on her head, students, females going missing, presumed dead. Comrades, it is a shameful and pitiful situation in the country. We need a new era of love and of caring. We need a new era of righteousness in the land. And when we form government, I intend to mobilize civil society, the churches and other well-thinking Jamaicans so we can push forward a new agenda of love, of caring, of decency. Jamaica is a country that was built on those values. But we have a rotten government. And a rotten government means that the people are getting the wrong signals and the wrong examples are being set. And it is a fact. Money to subsidize the rate, which is further weakening the National Housing Trust. We are going to stop taking that 11.4 billion out of the Housing Trust. And we're going to restore the mission of the Housing Trust to build houses for people who can't afford the houses that the private developers are building now. And we're going to establish a fund within the National Housing Trust for first-time buyers, young people up to 35 years old. If they have been contributing for up to 2 years to the National Housing Trust, they will be entitled to a grant from that $1 billion, which is going to be replenished every year. And that grant is $500,000 to help them cover the deposit so they can step onto the ownership ladder and move up in a life. And we have a very ingenious thing called the rent-to-own scheme for many, many Jamaicans who have made them money, but they can't produce a pay slip because they don't have a formal job with an employer who gives them a pay slip. So they can't show proof of income to qualify for a mortgage. We're going to deal with that situation. We will allow them to get into the possession of the house as a tenant, and they will be paying the rent at the level of a mortgage. And if they show that they can make the payments on time over a reasonable period, we're thinking of 6 months, they will be treated as having proved that they can service the mortgage, they can access the mortgage, draw down the loan, buy the house, and become an owner instead of a tenant. And we know that education is the antidote to poverty. The People's National Party is a party that believes in education. Right now the education system is failing the country and failing the children. Over 30% of children leaving primary school can't read and write, can't do arithmetic. The country cannot be built like that. We are going to make the necessary investments in early childhood development and primary school, in the teacher training, in the facilities at the school, in the nutrition of the students. And we want to reduce the problem of absenteeism from school. There are many children in Jamaica who don't go to school 5 days a week because their parents can't find lunch money or can't find the taxi or bus fare to send them. That is why we're going to have the EASE program to ease off some of them pressure there. We're going to provide one nutritious meal, hot meal, each day at school for all needy children in primary and secondary school. We're starting with that. And as the economy improves, we're going to include breakfast as well. And we...
If you ever come here, don't get shut up. No right to here.
But comrades, the only reason why I feel this confident about what we are doing in comrades, I was born in Flagaman, raised by Mr. Rena Mars Winchell, groomed by the best, nurtured by a community which involves Flagaman, which involves Little Park, which involves Crossroad, which involves Round Hill. Half of my family got great there, the next half.
Only music man. George, look at Jamaica Rise, one verse. Comrades, we have come to the end of our meeting. We want to thank you for coming out today and making us PMP.
Support them with storage facilities. Support them with financial credit so they can buy the inputs they need to get the ground prepared, the soil fertilized, and the crops ready for market. And we need to have proper storage facilities so that the post-harvest losses, which in Jamaica are at a very high level of 30%, can be cut down. Because if you're losing 3 out of every 10 of what you produce, it's going to be very hard to be wealthy out of farming. And Comrade Miranda Wellington was saying we need to go back to the days when you could have build a big house out of farming, or buy a van and you truck out of soil. And comrades, I can promise you that we will not allow fertilizer that is intended to be given to farmers to help them get out of a terrible situation to be misappropriated by cronies of the connected to the political class and sold back to the people for profit. We won't allow that. And we have to support our fishermen. When they're down and out, how can we imposing more costs on them? Food handlers permit, which is effectively another form of tax. They love talk about no new tax. That is a new tax on the fishermen. We have to stand up for the fishermen and give them a chance. We have to stand up for the farmers and give them a better chance. St. Elizabeth is a breadbasket parish of the nation. Flagaman's farmers from all about. Help is on the way. The People's National Party have a progressive plan for farming, and we intend to roll it out so that our country can move farming from 8 to 9% of GDP. We want to double that over the next 5 to 10 years. And comrades, we have a robust plan for housing as well. Right now, many Jamaicans struggle to buy a house. Houses which are being built for those who can afford expensive house. But what about the people who are not earning much and don't have it and need an affordable house at a reasonable price? Nothing is being built for them. The next People's National Party government has a plan to build 50,000 housing units over 5 years, affordable housing units. And we are going to get, over the last 10 years, the government has taken $11.4 billion each year. $11.4 billion each year out of the National Housing Trust to help balance the budget. It has weakened the National Housing Trust. Right now, National Housing Trust, they are not even making loans out of their own resources again, other than for the very smallest loans. Other loans, they are Jamaica goals when it comes to general elections. And I could feel the energy and the vibes tonight. And I knew that I was walking and pressing flesh and listening to people who were receiving their next Member of Parliament, this wonderful lady from Southwest, Miranda Wellington. Comrades, I feel so happy that you have given her the love and the support and the respect. And I know when she becomes a Member of Parliament, she will serve you well. Comrades, we're meeting at a time when many people across Jamaica are saying, why them don't call the election? Andrew, call the election. But Andrew don't want to call the election. We thought we'd have called it long time. But the truth is, he knows him can't call it. Because the people of Jamaica want change. They want to get rid of him and his government. They want to usher in a new era of hope, of decency, of good government, of government that puts the people first, of government that the people can have trust and confidence in. And he can't deliver those things. After all, his government is under a cloud right now. What about the 8 members of parliament under investigation by the Integrity Commission for illicit enrichment? One of those 8 is the Prime Minister himself. And his matters had to be referred further for further investigation to the Financial Investigations Division, which is the agency of government in charge of financial crimes, and Tax Administration Jamaica, the tax authority of this land. And what has been the Prime Minister's response? He's gone to the court to try and strike down the very law that establishes Jamaica's anti-corruption agency, the Integrity Commission Act, and to strike down the offense under the Corruption Prevention Act, which he's being investigated for. It is not a good look. In fact, if you were to tell anybody around the world that this is happening, nobody would believe it is impossible that somebody who has this situation hanging over his head could be offering himself for a 3rd term of office. Jamaica is not a normal place. But the people of Jamaica are not comfortable with it. And when they see how this government has failed to deliver a better standard of living and quality of life for the people, when they have failed to deliver strong and sustained economic growth, when they have delivered so many scandals, so many instances of cronyism and nepotism that the people are disgusted by, the most recent of which concerns fertilizer, a matter of great importance to the people of this constituency. After Beryl, where the people of Southern St. Elizabeth in particular suffered such hardship, and their farms were damaged, and they needed help. And there was Moroccan fertilizer given by the Kingdom of Morocco to Jamaica to help our farmers. And we hear that under this government, fertilizer that should have been given to the farmers to help them get back up on their feet was being sold instead to farmers who are already struggling, reeling from the effects of the hurricane. It's a disgusting shame and scandal on this government, and they should pay.
Our caretakers from neighboring constituencies. No worry, just slant it. Anyway, when we realize that we have a podium we can hold me tight. I built this one and it's still too tall. Still too tall, but we use local talent. And it made this one special for me. To cut off 2 points. Comrades, I want to big up my sister, Comrade Patricia Scarlett, from over there in